Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we are doing another little round of tips for you. In my last video, 5 tips to change your face. You guys really liked it, so here I am again, and this time we're going to do eye makeup. I also have changed the back. I dragged some furniture in here because a lot of you were saying that my background was boring, and I'm a people pleaser. So here is a bit of furniture and a plant. I hope that fills the void. Also, you'll be happy to know that there'll be no spam music in this video. It'll just be my dulcet tones. Okay, let's get started. So I've done my whole base and my brows and my lips and everything. My face is pretty much finished. We're going to be focusing on eye makeup today, so let's zoom you in. So in my last video, I made a point in telling you guys that I really believe there's no right and wrong way to do makeup. You should do makeup however you want to do it. Some of the things that I'm going to do today will make your eye makeup easier. It'll give a different kind of finish as well. It doesn't mean that it's right or wrong. And then on this side of my face is where I'm going to show you my little tip. And then on this side of my face is how I'm going to show you a different way to do it. That's not necessarily what I'm wanting to show you guys today, but it is just a different way to do it. So the first thing we're going to talk about is eyeshadow base. I'm going to use the P. Louise base number 2. So this is like the original, really popular, and for good reason. It is amazing, but I suppose the reason that I'm showing you it on the first side is because of the finish and the colour. So this is number 2, which is the most popular by far, and you'll see when I'm putting it on, it's quite bright. There is definitely a time and a place for a primer like this. I find it to be quite stark, so for really bright eye makeup looks it's amazing, but it definitely is not, I suppose, a quick and easy way to do your eyeshadow base. I'm bringing that right up to the brow, and I'm going to blend that kind of into my foundation slightly as well. But because it's so bright, I think it can make eyeshadows look quite heavy, I guess. So I'm just patting it on. Also, the kind of primer that this is, it's quite thick, so it's definitely a certain type of look. But there you go, you can see that I've definitely got an eyeshadow primer on, can't you? You can tell that I've primed my eyes with something, and it's taken away all the discoloration in my lid, which is great. But it's also kind of made my eyes look quite small. If I look straight ahead, you can see the difference. The natural tones in my lid are gone, which means that we have to recreate all of that. We also have to spend time building up the colour again. So before this starts to crease, because it will, I'm going to just keep on patting it in. With this primer you do want to pat, and I do use it sometimes, don't get me wrong, but I'm going to just show you what happens when I go in with my transition shade. So I'm going to go in with an eyeshadow brush. This is the Inglot 6SS, which is a big fluffy brush. And I'm going to use the Melt Cosmetics Rust palette for today. I just wanted a really nice neutral eyeshadow palette because the tips and tricks that I'm showing you can be used with any colours. But this is the palette I'm going to use. And I'm going to go in with a transition shade which is called Rubbish, just this one here. And when I start blending, you'll see because the base is quite thick, it's so bright. I'm not going to make one side of my face look good and the other side not. That's not the purpose of this tutorial at all. I just want to show you guys how you can make things a bit easier. So I'm going in with that colour. It's not really sticking where I want, so I might want to pat a little bit more, which you can absolutely do. But I'm going to be here for a little bit just blending that. You can see we're starting to get somewhere. And I'm just doing my usual motions, my window wiper kind of motion up into the crease, and then I like to bring my blend quite high in the brow always. I'm going to change my brush because that brush is shedding, and it's just sticking. It is blending, but it's just taking a wee bit longer than usual. There we go. And you can still see it's really bright on the lid and stuff, which we can absolutely fix with eyeshadow, but you know, it's taking a wee bit more time. And I'm going to keep this blend quite round because I want to show you the difference in another technique later. Okay, so there we go. We've got a transition shade. You can see that the bright primer is really bright on the eyebrow. It's bright against the skin as well, and it's bright here. I'm going to show you a different way to do that. This is the colour of the P. Louise base. And that right there is the colour that I'm going to show you next. So this is a NARS concealer, the Radiant Creamy Concealer in the shade Sucre d'Orge. And I'm putting a little bit of that on my eye. I'm going to just pat that out with a big brush. And because this is a concealer, it's got a bit more of a kind of skin texture finish. It also ties in with the rest of our face. So I've patted that concealer on. It's done the exact same thing. It's covered up everything we want to cover up, and it's given us a nice base. But because the colour of the concealer is much closer to my skin tone, it looks more natural from the get-go. That's not always what you're wanting, so that's fine. But I'm going to show you, going in with the exact same brush and colour, how easily this goes on and builds up, but just looks a bit more natural. It's also quicker, I think. I'm not having to do as much correction because my lids are always darker than the rest of my face. So by using that light primer on this side, you can see it looks a bit more unnatural and it would take me longer to fix. Whereas because I've used the concealer in my skin tone, I put a bit of that eyeshadow on and it's just blended really easily. The P. Louise bases are amazing for heavy eye makeup where you kind of pack on your colours from darkest to lightest, which is a whole other eyeshadow technique, but this is the kind of way that I tend to do my makeup on myself and on other people the most. So it's just something that I find the easiest. I'm also sticking mostly to the same blend. I'm just going around my crease up to my brow, and then when I get to the end of my brow, I'm just going to turn my brush up and kind of blend up and out. So on this side I've kept it much more rounded, and then on this side I've kind of blended up and out, but I just think that that looks a lot more blended, and I've not been blending for quite as long as well. There we go. So you can see the difference straight away. This eye, because it's so bright, the primer, the eyeshadow's stuck in a different way, whereas this one, the tones are more similar, so it's blended a lot easier and I suppose more seamlessly and quicker as well. Pretty cool, huh? I'm going to take a wee bit more time just to try and blend that a bit more, but honestly it's just not as easy. It's just not as easy, I don't think, and I don't think it looks as nice, if I'm honest. And I did the exact same technique on both sides. Like I said, I'm not trying to make this side look shit, but that's just what I've done. I've done the same thing to both sides, and this is just how it's ended up looking, so it's pretty different. I'm going to go ahead and finish the look off up on the top of my eye. I'll just do that on camera for you guys. So I'm going to go in with the shade Rust, which is this gorgeous warm brown, and let's just build up both sides. So I'm just getting that darker colour. And the eye makeup I'm going to do is just a really gorgeous smoky eye. I think everyone just likes a nice smoky eye, don't they? And because this is all about technique, I don't want to do anything too nuts for you guys. If you want to change the colours, obviously you can. You can use whatever you've got to do this. And I'm just building up both eyes the exact same way. They will look quite different just because of the base, but I promise you I'm doing the exact same thing to both eyes. It just doesn't go on the same. And when I'm blending out the smoky eye, I love to mix the two colours together that I'm blending with, just to make sure everything's looking nice and seamless. And I love to keep my eyes mostly open actually when I'm doing eye makeup, on myself and on other people. It just means that you can follow the exact shape of the eye when it's open, so you can see exactly what you're doing and what the makeup will look like with eyes open as well. It's so different, right? And I think I realised the huge difference that the base makes when I was actually practicing for my wedding makeup, because I tried using a light base like this and it just looked like, I love heavy makeup, but it just looked a wee bit too like unnatural, I guess. And I promise you I'm trying my best with this eye, but it's just not as easy. It's not going on the same. Okay, see, just to keep this look matte, I'm going to go in with the shade Antique, which is just here. It's like a nice peach colour. I'm going to use that just with the same brush just to mattify the lid. There we go. So it's nice and soft. And I'm going to do the same thing now. But that should cancel out some of that brightness, which will, yeah, they're looking a wee bit more similar now. So I'm just using that shade Antique all over. We're going to keep it nice and matte today. For my next little trick with eye makeup is going to be under eyes. I love a smoky under eye. And I'm going to show you the difference in applying your smoky under eye right at the lash line, quite small, and buffing it out nice and big instead. So I'm going to go in with the shade Rust, which is our darker colour we're using. And on this eye, I'm going to apply the darker shadow right to the lash line, right? And I'm not going to buff it out quite as much. So I used to see this a lot when I did makeup on other people. And again, there's nothing wrong with it. Like, it looks nice, doesn't it? It's a nice warm colour, that. So I'm going to leave it like that. Smoky, it's blended, and it's right to my lash line, which looks, you know, there's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with anything I'm doing. On the other eye, I'm going to go in with the exact same colour, but I'm going to go in with a slightly fluffier brush, and I'm not going to apply the eyeshadow right at the lash line, okay? I'm going to go in with a softer amount, and I'm going to go slightly under the eye bag almost. Go slightly under the lash line, leaving a little bit of a gap, I guess. And can you see how soft, it's like a soft focus smoky eye. Exact same colour, but one of my eyes is looking much bigger than the other, I think. And I would say I've gone in with the same amount of product, but by smoking it out more, and technically I suppose bringing it lower, my eye actually looks bigger, I think. And I'm going to just tie that in at the top. our eyes are starting to look pretty different. This is going to really make it look different. I'm going to show you the difference of a dark waterline compared to a brighter waterline. I like both of these, but I just thought it was quite cool to show you, especially on my eye shape. There is absolutely a time and a place for a dark waterline, but with looks like this, it can make my eyes actually look a lot smaller. So I'm going to go in with the Urban Decay 24/7 waterline pencil. This is just in black. I'm going to colour in this waterline. I do really like doing this on some looks, but it can make my eyes look a bit smaller. So on the other eye, I'm going to show you a bright waterline. This is the Stila Kajal liner in the shade Nude, and I'm only going to use a tiny bit of this. Too much of this can make your eyes look, it's like quite fake looking almost, but I'm going to just use a tiny bit of that. Oh, see what I mean? So that, to me, that's too bright. But there's a little smudger on the end. Go in with the little smudgy end, and I've slightly softened it. It's still quite bright. If you can look at the difference, this eye looks much bigger now. Much bigger. Okay. So my next tip is one of my favourite tricks of all time. This is using your bronzer to kind of bring your eye makeup up and into the skin. So I'm going to go in with my bronzer. This is the Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush Bronzer. I'm going to go in with a small brush, almost like for a contour. And I'm just going to get that, and at the edge of my makeup, I'm going to use this bronzer, pretty much like a huge transition eyeshadow. And I'm going to bring that up. And you can see the difference in blend and the way that it's picking up my face. We're all about lift and sculpt and just looking as youthful as possible while we slowly deteriorate in lockdown. Next step. Do you know what? I think I'm not going to do liner on this look. You can let me know if you want me to do a whole video on eyeliner itself. I know a lot of you guys have asked for it, so I think maybe that's worth a dedicated video, but you let me know. So I'm going to use the Urban Decay Lash Freak Mascara. I've actually had this for ages and I've not been allowed to talk about it because it was under embargo, but it's really amazing. And I'm just going to do my lashes. Guys, I really do feel like a little teacher. I used to do this game when I was young. I was always the teacher. You know, when you're a kid and you've got, I don't know, the other kids in your street. And I was always the teacher. I used to make them all sit in front of me and teach them about, like, I don't know, Tom and Jerry, because that was all that I knew. Right, okay, so I'm just taking my time to do my bottom lashes. I actually like this eye. See what I mean? There's no wrong way to do it, and it's the beauty of makeup, but it's just different techniques to look different. But I definitely don't hate some of that eye. This was a trick that I showed you in my last little tips and techniques video. I'm going to show you again the difference of a half lash and a full lash, but this time with no liner. And I'm just going to use, you know, a really random pair of lashes that I've just pulled out from nowhere, you know. Maybe if you saw my Instagram, you'll know what they are, but if not, then maybe you'll see soon. Now, when I was talking about the half lash technique in the last video, a lot of you guys, you asked what part of the lash do I use. Now say this is the fuller side of the lash, okay? So you can see that the outer corner is fuller than the inner corner. If you were cutting in the middle, you would use this front section. Just because the front section of a lash is 9 times out of 10 it's shorter, so it will blend with your own lashes a little bit better. I say that like it's a rule, it's not. You can do whatever you like. Sometimes I'll wear a pretty full lash cut in half, and I suppose the ends of my lash don't quite blend with the eyelashes, but I honestly don't really care. And with your lashes, my biggest tip ever is when you're applying your lash glue, make sure you leave your lash until it's pretty much nearly dry, and that way when you go to apply it, it will just stick straight away. Now we're here and I'm waiting for those lashes to dry. I'm going to show you another trick. This one might not be for everyone. I'm just going to put it out there. It is one of my favourite things to do. It's a super old technique. It's really famous on icons like Twiggy, but I'm going to use the darkest shade in the palette, which is called Rot 2, and I'm going to draw in little fake bottom lashes. Bottom lashes are amazing, but I don't want to be wearing bottom lashes every day, so by using a tiny angle brush in that really dark shade, I'm literally just gonna, and I'm going quite long, like look at that, I'm just stamping on. Look at that, like it's really clever. I'm really clever. No, it's just such a smart way to get bigger looking eyes again, and it makes your lower lashes look even thicker. Like that one there looks a bit long to me, so because it's eyeshadow you can just kind of pat it back. But it makes your lashes look thicker You can do it right along if you want. And I like to have one just shooting out the side. Trust the process, because what I would do now that I've drawn those in, I'm going to go back in with my mascara and I'm going to make my bottom lashes a little bit thicker, which will hide some of the work that we've done, but it just kind of all adds in together. It's not so obvious that way, so I'm going to add a little bit more bottom mascara. This mascara is so amazing for my favourite chunky bottom lashes, but look at that. I think that looks brilliant. I'll use it on the other side as well, because that's not fair. We're still waiting for our lashes to dry slightly, so I'm going to go in with a little highlight on the brow bone on each side. I'm going to use the same colour that I've got on my face on this eyebrow, and I've applied a little bit, and then I'm going to go in with my eyeshadow brush. I'm just going to blend that in. On the other side, I'm going to go in with a slightly icier, paler highlight, just to show you again the difference it makes to the overall look. Like, I remember at one point I loved like a white icy brow bone. Again, nothing wrong with that. You're going to be bored of me saying that, but there is nothing wrong with that. But for me personally, this is it. This is the whole thing. Nice. Wow, what a stunning lash. Wouldn't you agree? Oh my god, do you not think that just looks like old school Jamie G? I used to do my makeup like that every day. And then let's do the half lash. Okay, I'm going to use the end of my mascara just to blend my own lashes with the falsies. And by that I'm just making these wee bits a bit longer. Bronzer as well, it's almost like using a huge transition colour all over your whole lid. So if you're struggling with your blending at all, this little trick will just make everything look nice and seamless. So I love a half lash, everyone knows that, but I actually really do love the way that this looks with the full lash. I think it's a different style of look, isn't it? They're both like quite different eyes now. And my last little trick is just how to get super subtle definition in your inner corner. I personally have made the mistake of overdoing it when it comes to an inner point, just because my eyes are actually quite close together. Whenever I do too much definition on the inner corner, my eyes look even closer together. It's a look, but it's not my favourite on myself. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in with the shade Rot, use my little angle brush, create a tiny shadow. Do you see that? It is the most minimalist thing, but it makes a difference. It makes a big difference on me as well. And it gives my eyes that nice almond shaped look as well. And then eye makeup for me is probably the one thing that I'll go back and I'll fix and I'll change and things like that. So I'm going to go in with a tiny bit of the shade Mar, and I'm just going to slightly darken pretty low down. There we go. Like I said, they're two totally different eye makeups. Some of you guys might prefer this eye, but I just thought it was really cool to show you guys how the tiniest little tweaks can completely change the way that your makeup looks. And even though this eye looks, I actually think, a little bit more natural, we've got a lot more makeup on this eye. We've got the makeup dragging it up and out, and we've got a lot more smoky underneath the eye as well. So I'm going to zoom you out and let's finish her off. The last video I made, I had my monitor here and I couldn't stop looking because I couldn't believe how different my face looked. So I'm going to make a really good effort to look straight at you guys. I got a comment in the last video as well saying, if you pause this video and place something over half of my face, you'll see that it's a huge difference. Thank you so much for watching this video. Thank you for watching my other one as well. I'm actually still quite buzzing off all the comments. Let me know if you try these techniques out. The beauty of makeup is playing around with it, and I just love how a slightly different technique or slightly different product placement can completely change the way your eye makeup looks. So I'm not saying that one eye is better than the other. I mean, I personally, right now, here today in front of you, I prefer the way that this one looks, but that's just the style of my makeup these days. I might change again in a couple of years and love this style. So like we always say here, makeup, do whatever you want with it. Just make sure you're having a bloody good time while you do it. As always, I will link everything down below that I used. And other than that, I will see you in the next video. Bye! I got my clickety clacks back. Guys, I promise I'm going to clean my brushes for next time. This is out of order. If my hair's not tidy, let's just ignore that. I don't have any clean brushes. Fuck. This brush is shedding. Okay, let's change this brush. Bring your eye in your skin. I love it. I flipping love science. I love makeup science. I don't love the light brow bone. It'd be cool if I was organised, eh? It would be really neat if I was just organised for once. I'm going to show you the difference of a dark light, and then my last little trick. Oh god, I'm so out of focus. The mirror I'm using is so dirty that it's making me think that I'm starting to lose my eyesight, which is quite alarming. I actually do really like the full lash. Shit.